One of the weirdest and the most fascinating books in the Bible is definitely the book of Ezekiel. There are so many weird creatures in the stories and so many strange things that happen to Ezekiel or that he is told to do. But one of the weirdest things in the whole book is when Ezekiel is told to cook his food on a pile of human dung. I mean, yeah, little weird. It's in Ezekiel 4 verse 12. God says, "You shall eat it," as in his food, "as a barley cake, baking it in their side on human dung." Why? Why on earth would God tell him to cook like that? I mean, first of all, we know from Deuteronomy 23, verses 13 to 15, that he has told the Israelites that they should go outside the camp and dig a hole in the ground for their dung, because, yeah, the camp was holy. Other mentions of human dung we don't really have in this context, but secondly, I mean, bleh, that's just yucky. And based on Ezekiel's own reaction in Ezekiel 4 verse 14, it seems to have been at least considered as not only yucky, but, well, unclean. Religiously unclean. Even God talks about uncleanness in verse 13, so it seems that the eating of food that was made on human dung had something to do with becoming religiously unclean. But why? I mean, Ezekiel's whole job was some kind of a big role play. Like he had to build a miniature Jerusalem to make a point, or sleep on only one side for like 390 days just to make a point, or to eat like a minimum of food per day. It says in verse 10 that it was 20 shekels that he ate, and that's estimated to be approximately 230 grams of food per day. I mean, he was at the edge of starvation. Why? Well, he was a prophet, and he had a message, and he had to make a point. So God tells him to do this performance, this war game or a role play just to make a point. Like, have you heard the saying that one picture is worth 1,000 words? Well, it's kind of like that, just that the drama, the play, it's supposed to be even more powerful. Plus, at this point, it seems to be that he is still mute from the end of chapter 3. So how else would he transmit the message if he couldn't speak? So he acts, he performs this drama, this scene, just to make it really, really clear what the message is all about. And he speaks to the exiles, and he tells them about Jerusalem, and he makes this point that when Israel will be under siege, it's gonna be horrible. Like, they're not gonna have anything to eat, like so little that they're almost starving, and they don't even have wood to cook the food on, just dung, and not even animal dung, but human dung, because there's nothing else left. And on top of that, it's, well, human dung, just to make the point that they will have to compromise, that they will have to get unclean, that they won't have a choice. So terrible it will be for Jerusalem. Really, really bad. And then the interesting thing is that Ezekiel says, no, that's horrifying. He says, "Oh Lord God, I have never defiled myself. From my youth up until now, I have never eaten what died of itself or was torn by animals, nor has carrion flesh come into my mouth." As in, I have never eaten something unclean. I couldn't possibly now. So God answers, "See, I will let you have cow's dung instead of human dung, on which you may prepare your bread." Whew. Well, maybe it doesn't sound much better to us, but at least it wasn't human. At least it wasn't considered unclean. Even today we know that in some parts of the world food is prepared on fire made of animal dung. But human dung, at least Ezekiel won't become unclean. But why did God change his mind? Why did he first of all tell Ezekiel to do something that was considered unclean, and then suddenly change his mind? I think we learn something pretty important about God here. See, for God, it seems, if I dare say, that the human is more important than the rule. I mean, it seems that the rule itself, it exists, well, for the human, because here in this text, God's priority is the people. The priority is to transmit the message to the people in order to make them turn back to God, to save them from their destruction, regardless how. To be clean, not to be unclean, that was important, of course. We can see that from the reaction of Ezekiel, it was massively important. But to be clean in itself, that wasn't the point. Just the point of being clean without the connection to God in it, well, it would have been pointless. I mean, in this situation, the value of saving the Israelites seemed to have been bigger and more important than the defilement through cooking on human dung. We humans, we don't always see behind these rules. Neither did Ezekiel. He only saw the rule. Oh no, anything but not unclean. But for God, the priority, it was to save the people. Well, in the end, Ezekiel didn't have to get himself unclean. He didn't have to fry the food on human dung. Perhaps God saw that the message was strong enough without that aspect as well. But I just learned something about God in this text. I think God, he's greater than we think, greater than our limitations, and that, yeah, his priority is to save the people. I mean, everything else is secondary. His priority is to save his people.